Welcome to r/Reddit Revenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. And today we have 3 great stories. So subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Coworker put on a crown and treated everyone over the top. Soon she was fired. The second story. Constant slamming doors in adjacent apartment woke up my sleeping girlfriend. She found out it was used as an Airbnb with 4 total Airbnb listings in our small apartment complex. The third story. Neighbor complained about the noise I didn't make. In response, I took her parking space and my car stands there 80% of the time. The first story is, my overpaid coworker is rude, rarely here, and calls us uptight and slaves for caring about our jobs. I have a coworker, Circe, who's politely condescending. Her demeanor and tone sound nice, but her words are unprofessional and quite frankly rude. She is viewed very poorly by everyone in the department, which has led to multiple venting and complaining sessions, some with me included and others I've overheard. Some examples? She told our newest hire on the first day to quit while you have the chance. I mentioned that morning shifts tend to be based on seniority. She replied with, "Oh really? I come in and leave whenever I want." She told our operations coordinator what they do is easy, and I can do that in an hour. Why does it take you so long? Mind you, this was said to the objectively single most important non-managerial person in our 100-plus person department. She asks about the open leadership positions, claiming they are easy and less work. She is interested because it isn't real work, and she only has to work as a therapist but can always close my door to avoid people. She has said, "Why are you always here? You act like this job matters." She asked multiple people if she should ask for more money within her first 90 days of hire. She makes 25 to 50% more than most of the staff. She eats but refuses to contribute to potlucks, saying this is the least we could do for working her so hard. She's been with us less than 6 months and has missed work 25% of the time. Someone actually counted the days she's called out, not including when she's left excessively early. She takes breaks and disappears constantly and shows no desire to be here. She pushes all her unfinished work on her coworkers who clocked in before her. Many, including myself, are feeling resentful due to her getting away with doing whatever she wants, which is reducing morale exponentially. Further contributing to this is her openness about how much she makes with how little she contributes to the workload. What we can agree on is that she is not the right fit, but since she signed a hefty sign-on bonus, it'll be a game of chicken on firing versus quitting. I've tried telling her she shouldn't say some of these things, but it's met with snarky comments like, "It's because you're a slave," and "Why are you being so uptight?" and "I don't care." She is poison. I have already addressed Circe's attendance with management since that has a direct impact on workflow. I figured morale would improve if she were held accountable, but her attitude has been more condescending and victimizing than ever. I'm not a manager, but I may be in the best place to mention something since I have capital. How can I address this without coming off as making it personal or speaking from generalized hearsay feelings? What the manager thinks? She had no idea, partially because she has over 50 direct reports. She was quick to act to enforce the attendance and time issue. I think our manager is very competent compared to those in the past, and concurrent ones. She puts things into perspective of productive versus not productive and makes data-driven decisions. It may require more people coming forward about Circe, which appears to be an uphill battle, as the people directly working with her are afraid of burdening our manager with something they feel is petty or bitter. Update. Some things that transpired after I sent in the letter were that Circe asked to be moved to part-time, and they let her do 4 days a week instead of 5, with the agreement she would come in for the afternoon shift as per the conditions she was hired on. This went on for about 3 weeks, with an increased amount of call-outs for various reasons, and her complaints about how peeved she was. When she did show up, continued to leave early each day. Some background that I didn't mention. Her commute is over an hour and a half, which was initially met with a lot of sympathy when she first started. This ended when she stopped apartment hunting in the area, opted to move in with her long-distance boyfriend, and call-outs were exclusively weekends. One of Circe's partners and I brought it up separately to another supervisor, who oversees the actual work rather than the manager who she just reports to on a Friday. I brought our company's attendance policy with me as support, which stated more than 6 days of unexcused absence in a 6-month period was subject to disciplinary action. I was informed that she was not on a PIP, but the topic would be brought up in the next management meeting, as our manager was currently traveling out of state for work to our other site. I would have liked to assume that they were waiting for the 6-month mark to make a move, but in hindsight, they probably wanted to let her quit on her own to avoid having to go through the tedious process of write-ups and ultimately firing. We were also in a hiring freeze, so losing her would not have opened up a position immediately. Some were conflicted whether bad help was better or worse than no help. Circe put in her 2 weeks on the following Monday. It was purely coincidental. However, the supervisor I spoke to did mention my concerns to our manager. I never had the chance to speak to my manager directly about it. Her last day happened to be the day after her 6 months, which probably was strategically done, so she only had to pay back part of her sign-on bonus. Of those last 2 weeks, she called out every single day. There was a pot going around betting how many days she would actually show up. No one guessed 0. The coworker that kept a tally eventually counted 60+ days of absence in those 6 months, including vacation time. The last text she sent to her partner at work said, "I hope you're happy. You never get to see me again." From word of mouth, she took a job slightly closer to her boyfriend's place with a drop in salary, actually putting her at market rate for her experience level, working full-time and some weekends. I guess the problem resolved itself. As many pointed out, my manager having 50+ reports was ridiculous. I mentioned this in the comments, but we had Cersei's supervisor resign and another fired. Ironic at the same time, which led to my manager inheriting 30+ people for a few months. Shortly after Cersei's departure, some promotions and hirings happened, so now my manager only oversees 15 people, and the reports are evenly distributed among a full management staff. Part of me hoped to have seen how my manager would have taken action, but in the end the department got what we wanted. We now have an inside joke about referring to callouts as pulling a Cersei. Winter has passed. The second story is, my girlfriend got an illegal Airbnb ring in her apartment complex busted. We live in a new and small apartment complex, only 40 units within 2 buildings. It's very low-key and within walking distance to our downtown. It's very affordable for how convenient a location it is. Back in September, we noticed the vacant unit besides us was getting moved into by a new tenant, with furniture, decor, etc. One weekend, not long after moving in, we heard what sounded like a little party with music and loud voices well past midnight. We heard a lot of people coming in and out of the front door, but letting the door slam each time to where it shook the walls. Maybe they were having a housewarming party or a friend's get-together at the new place, so we brushed it under the rug as a one-off incident. For the next few weeks, we noticed a variety of people coming in and out of this apartment, and none of them seemed to be the same individuals. Parking also started to become much more busy than usual, as well as the cars kept changing. So something seemed off. My girlfriend started working night shift for her job not long after the neighboring apartment became occupied. She's a light sleeper and noticed that all throughout the morning and before going to work, the neighbor's door was always slamming and shaking the walls. She understands that people are active in the day, and she can't ask people to cater to her night shift needs, but she felt the constant slamming of doors was not only disruptive but unusual behavior. One particular morning was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had finally had enough because of the effect it was having on her sleep. She wanted to see who was slamming the door. She heard the door slamming around 10:30 a.m. and got up and witnessed people walking to their car with suitcases and leaving. Soon after, a man arrived and pulled up the front doormat and retrieved a key, and let 2 women with cleaning supplies into the apartment. Each time they entered or left, the door would slam and shake the wall. Seeing this, she searched Airbnb and almost immediately found the rental unit next door. Same floor plans, wall paint, flooring, etc. To our surprise and anger, we found a total of 4 listings in our apartment complex alone on the host profile. That's 10% of the apartments in our building. Through the listings, we found the individual's LinkedIn and business website. On his website, he claims that he does something called rental arbitrage. Essentially, this is renting out a long-term rental on short-term basis. Lease an apartment and rent it on Airbnb for profit. This can be done legally with the landlord's permission. The lease agreement does not allow for subletting or short-term rentals. They were renting out 3 of the 4 ground units offered, units with unique floor plans. The 4th unit was a handicap-accessible unit. That's right, this man and his business partner leased an apartment meant for accommodating people with disabilities with the intention of using it for his little short-term business empire he was trying to build. Our city and region, like in other places, has been feeling the squeeze on apartment availability, and these D-heads are contributing to the problem. It was at this point we took this personally, as we had our own problems dealing with apartment availability, wait lists, disappointment, and frustration. My girlfriend called the leasing office and notified them that the neighboring unit is being rented out on Airbnb, and asked if that was allowed, to which the office gave an emphatic absolutely not, and asked for the listings to be sent to them in an email. Later that day, the office called her back and said they notified the tenant that they will be inspecting the apartments the following afternoon. After the inspection was completed, the office notified that they had sent a cease and desist docent of any rental activities outside the lease agreement or face eviction. They also informed us that you should not have any more problems concerning the matter, and if you do, don't hesitate to give us a call. Now this a-hole has 4 leases he's stuck paying $1,500 a month for and can't make any more money on through Airbnb. He is bleeding money at the tune of about $6,000 a month. His only legal options are to continue paying for them or to break the leases and vacate. Last week we watched as movers emptied out the apartments. I'm sure they lost deposits and or were penalized for breaking the leases. A very expensive lesson for being greedy entrepreneur. Don't be D-heads, folks. Also, don't peeve off a night shifter trying to sleep. The last story is, crazy neighbor finally got told no. So I finally moved into my own place around 7 months ago. I was so happy. All my weekends spent working and sleeping in my mom's dining room had paid off. The lady who owned the house before me was older and moving into assisted living. Meeting her when I originally viewed the house, I can guess she was pretty quiet and passive. The first night I move in, there's nothing in the house but flat pack boxes. Me and my pup. All is going well until it gets to bedtime and my dog can't settle in his new place. The neighbor's dog clearly didn't take well to my pup's cries and so begins a barking war. The pair of them bark and bark until 1 a.m. Cue the crazy neighbor. The woman knocks on my door and lets me know my dog is barking. In my head I'm thinking, yeah, so is yours. But I'm new to the area, so I just apologize and get back to trying to comfort my dog. The morning after, I knock on next door and apologize again for the noise the night before. The lady gives me nothing but grief, but I brush it off. That day I do nothing but play with my pup and get him comfortable in his new place. Now this in itself isn't crazy, but man, this lady is persistent. A few days later I'm in my garden and she comes to ask why my mother had bought me a house in this area. I explained to her it's my place. I bought it and I chose the area. She tells me that I would never get a mortgage. Not that she knows anything about me. Again, I just brush it off. That night, she's banging on our adjoining wall at 9 p.m. and shouting that I'm being too loud. This time, I'm really not. I'm not doing anything and my dog's asleep. The day after, she's at our garden wall telling me how I'm disrespectful for walking up the stairs so late at night. She tells me that my stairs are at the wrong side of the house. This time, I finally decided to say something back to her. I told her that I haven't just dropped $16K on my own place to have her set me a 9 o'clock bedtime. She's been pretty quiet since then. She's had the odd comment to make here and there, but nothing major. Until last Thursday. Last Thursday, I'm working from home and there's a knock on my door. It's the crazy neighbor. The conversation goes, crazy neighbor, move your car. My mom's coming over. I look and my car is in front of her house, but I'm in a meeting and I don't care. Plus, there's plenty of space for her mom to park. Me, I'm not moving my car. Crazy neighbor, why the hell not? Me, who do you think you're speaking to like that? Crazy neighbor, effing you? Me, okay, bye then. Now I go to close my door and she forces it back on me and tries to come into my house. I shove her back out, lock my door and call the police. Not emergency number. She spends the next 5 minutes screaming at my front door for me to come back and move my car, but I just go back to work. A few hours later, the police come and speak with me. Tell me I can park where I like and if she has a problem with the noise, she can make a noise complaint to them and can no longer harass me about it. They then go and speak to her. I don't know what's been said, but I haven't heard a peep from her since. Cue petty revenge. My car has not and will not be moved from the front of her house. I can work from home 80% of the time, and I live so close to work that I can walk in and use the pool cars for any journeys I need. The joy I get every time I see my car in front of her house is one I can't even explain. I hope she loves seeing that little banger in front of her house every time she looks out of her window or leaves her house. Little wins, I suppose. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day.